Let us put this into perspective. As of 2017, according to migratorypolicies.org, there are 2.4 million African migrants in the United States. Nigerians, of course, holding the largest percentage of those numbers, and according to the 40-page article, The Reverse Diaspora, African Immigrants and the Return Home. Yes, I did the research so that you wouldn't have to, so pressing the thumbs up button on this video will be greatly appreciated. African immigrants have increased in numbers by over 369% since the 90s. 26% comes to the United States with a bachelor's degree, 9% with a master's, and a little over 4% with a doctoral degree. It is estimated that 74% of Nigerians will leave the country if given the opportunity. Most Africans who leave never return. Migration has been one of the major contributors to the development of a nation. Imagine if half the doctors in America moved to Nigeria to start all over again, to go back to medical school again, thereby solidifying their skills. It is no doubt that they will play a significant role in the economy of Nigeria at the expense of the United States. Unfortunately, that is the reality of Nigeria today. Half of Nigeria's doctors practice outside of the country. It's not by coincidence that in proportion to the population, majority of healthcare workers and doctors in the United States are Nigerians. And that is what brain drain is all about. But we cannot fault someone for wanting a better ambience for themselves and their families. It is understandable and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem settles in when we sever all ties that we have with the continent without the hopes of ever returning. Consider this. As of 2016, the United States had a ratio of 1 doctor to every 339 people, compared to Nigeria with 1 doctor for every 2,753 people. In Malawi, it's 1 doctor for every 33,300 people. And isn't that an irony? Africa supplies the world with doctors, and yet the world sends Africa medical volunteers to serve. Food for thought. Do you think Africa needs medical volunteers? Foreign aid, food, used clothes, and everything else that they say that we need in those commercials. It saddens me to hear so many say that they're never going back home and want nothing to do with the continent. They even go as far as to speak ill about their country. Such people are of no value and have no rights to speak on the issues pertaining to us as a continent. And that begs the question, why is it that Africans are desperate to leave Africa, but yet the world is desperate to come into Africa? I think it's time that we value our country. I'm not ignorant of the social and economic difficulties that we face, and I'm not completely against one looking elsewhere for better school and work. What I'm in opposition to is one having no intentions of returning back home ever. Pause. I do believe that we can achieve purpose in the diaspora. I also believe that we can fashion our lives in a manner that makes us consequential to the continent. Despite how small it is, I think we all have a role to play, because at the end of the day, wherever we are, Africa reflects on us, and it is up to us to determine whether the reflection will be positive or negative. We need to come back and be the change that we're looking for. Even if we don't come back, I think we can still be involved, no matter how small of a contribution that we make. To build a nation, we need all hands on deck. A lot of us see our continent as a wasteland never to return, and I promise that that is far from the case. Africa is the largest source of wealth. There is a reason why the world is flooding to Africa. I believe that coming back home or playing a role in the development of the continent is an obligation as well as an opportunity. An opportunity to serve in a consequential manner. It is an opportunity to take what you have learned and make improvements upon what is already here. And an obligation in the sense that if we don't invest in Africa, the world will. And there's nothing more dangerous than that. Consider this. The currencies of most African countries are minuscule compared to the likes of European countries, the United States, and China. This means that a few of their currencies is worth more to us. So they can come in and buy land, existing businesses, properties at a very low cost. To them, it will be affordable, but to us, expensive. And this creates a scenario where the vast majority of businesses and properties in the country is owned by foreigners. And unfortunately, this is the case for the majority of African countries. We're the ones to come back to reinvest in ourselves. We cannot permit the wealth of our nation into the hands of foreigners. What I'm trying to say is, if this persists, Africa will continue to lose because the wealth and immigrant gains from Africa is not used to build or reinvest in Africa. It is taken back to build other countries. I'm not completely against this because that is how immigration works, and we are amongst the highest immigrants on the planet. What I'm against is the fact that this is an epidemic and we have everything to lose. You don't get it. Everything. Money talks. And when the majority of wealth of a nation is held in the hands of foreigners, our voices fall on deaf ears. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Money influences everything, from policies, standards of living, laws, governments, politics, and much more. There are cities in Africa today in which billboards, street signs, and highway signs are in Mandarin. And that is no longer an African city. That is a colony, and such will continue to happen if we don't invest in ourselves. A scenario where 80% of a nation's wealth is held by foreigners, not only will they be able to influence the politics of the country, they can influence laws, making Africa more suitable for themselves and rendering us victims. The unfortunate truth is that this is already happening right underneath our eyes. We have seen foreigners gain wealth through investing on the continent. We've seen them bribe corrupt government officials. A familiar example is Patrick Ho, a former Hong Kong government official who made multiple attempts to bribe various African countries in an effort to secure valuable oil rights. There are countless other examples.
He was convicted of violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
So the prosecution delivered its opening argument this morning as the opening
apologizing for his crimes, but in the end, at the very end of him speaking, he took a Chinese bow to the judge and
Let's take a look at this from a broader perspective. Zambia, the copper bullet of Africa. During the height of the pandemic, Zambia accumulated a lot of debt, most of which is held by China. Debt accumulates interest, and this debt will need to be paid back. Not only will it acquire interest, due to the value of the currency that is used in Zambia, it renders it nearly impossible for Zambia to pay back their debt. I believe that no African country should be in debt to any country outside of Africa. If Ghana needs help, I expect Senegal to rush to their aid. Vice versa, and the same goes for every African country. The more reason why we need to be united. There's a reason why everyone is eager to offer loans to Africa. It's a lucrative business, a scenario where one continues to pay with no hopes of paying back their debt. The cycle continues. In a future video, I'll cover what it means if Africa is unable to pay its debt. Long story short, if this persists, we'll continue to witness more scenarios like what happened to a Zambian man in Zambia, where he was kicked out of a restaurant and called a foreigner in his own country. In 2015, 17 African countries were identified to be unable to pay back their loans. It's not about loans. You don't give money to someone that you know cannot pay you back. It's not about that. It's about power, influence, and access to Africa's resources. I know that I said in the past that everyone needs to leave Africa. I still believe that. I also believe that Africa's relationship with the world, including China, can be a positive one, just not underneath these conditions. It's disrespectful. I digress. I'm always reluctant to use the term Black to refer to my people. I'm not a fan of that term. So when I use the word Africans, I use it to reference everyone of African origins. This includes African Americans. This includes Africans in Europe and Africans in the Caribbean. I digress again. What I'm trying to say is, there's so much opportunities in Africa, and everyone is taking advantage of it. If we don't invest in Africa, we have no future. There is no future for us outside of Africa. My name is Akin, and I approve this message.